Welcome to the His Eternal Word podcast. I am your host, Rakeyia Collins, and the purpose of this podcast is to read the Bible from beginning to end every single year. If that mission sounds interesting to you, I'd encourage you to grab your Bible and read along with me. Today we are going to be going through chapter 10 through chapter 13. So picking up with chapter 10, nations descended from Noah. These are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Sons were born to them after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Maddah, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tiras. The sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Rephath, and Togarmah. The sons of Javan, Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Doamin. From these, the coastland people spread in their lands, each with his own language, by their clans in their nations. The sons of Ham, Cush, Egypt, Put, and Canaan. The sons of Cush, Sheba, Haval, Sabta, Ramah, and Sabteca. The sons of Ramah, Sheba, and Dedan. Cush fathered Nimrod. He was the first on the earth to be a mighty man. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Therefore, it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord. The beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, Adak, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. From that land, he went into Assyria and built Nineveh, Rehoboth, Calia, and Rezin between Nineveh and Calia, and that is a great city. Egypt fathered Ludim, Enimo, Lebanim, Nahutim, Pathrishem, Kalishim, from whom the Palestinians came, and Keworthim. Canaan fathered Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, and the Jebusites, the Amorites, and the Girgashites, the Hivites, the Arkites, and the Sinites, the Arvites, and the Zemanites, and the Hammonites. Afterward, the clans of the Canaanites dispersed, and the territory of the Canaanites extended from Sidon in the direction of Gerger as far as Gaza, and the direction of Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim, as far as Lasha. These are the sons of Ham by their clans, their languages, their lands, and their nations. To Shem also, the father of all the children of Eber, the elder brother of Japheth, children were born. The sons of Shem, Elam, Asher, Arphash, Lud, and Arman. The sons of Arman, Uz, Lul, Gether, and Mash. Arphash fathered Shelah, and Shelah fathered Eber. To Eber were born two sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days the earth was divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. Joktan fathered Almoad, Shelaph, Hazaramath, and Jerab. Adamor, Uzzah, Delakiah, Obel, Abiel, Sheba, Orpho, Havial, and Joab. All these were the sons of Joktan. The territory in which they lived extended from Mesha in the direction of Sephar to the hill country of the east. These are the sons of Shem by their clans, their languages, their lands, and their nations. These are the clans of the sons of Noah according to their genealogies in their nations, and from their nations spread abroad on the earth after the flood. So not much commentary there. Admittedly, that chapter was really meant to just lay the groundwork for us to understand the genealogy of everyone that came after Noah, all the nations that came after Noah. I think that chapter really speaks for itself in terms of just giving us the genealogy of everything after the flood. So moving right along to chapter 11, the Tower of Babel. Now the whole earth had one language and the same words. And as people migrated from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. And they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly." And they had brick for stone and bitumen for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the whole earth. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of man had built. And the Lord said, Behold, they are one people, and they all have one language, and this is only the beginning of what they will do. And nothing that they propose to do will now be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and there confuse their language, so that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord dispersed them from there over the face of all the earth, and they left off building the city. Therefore its name was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord dispersed them over the face of the earth. Shem's descendants. These are the generations of Shem. When Shem was 100 years old, he fathered Arpachshad 2 years after the flood. And Shem lived after he fathered Arpachshad 500 years and had other sons and daughters. When Arpachshad had lived 35 years, he fathered Shelah. And Arpachshad lived after he fathered Shelah 403 years and had other sons and daughters. When Shelah had lived 30 years, he fathered Eber. And Shelah lived after he fathered Eber 403 years and had other sons and daughters. When Eber had lived 34 years, he fathered Peleg. And Eber lived after he fathered Peleg 430 years and had other sons and daughters. When Peleg had lived 30 years, he fathered Reu. And Peleg lived after he fathered Reu 209 years and had other sons and daughters. When Reu had lived 32 years, he fathered Sherung. And Reu lived after he fathered Sherung 207 years and had other sons and daughters. When Sherag had lived 30 years, he fathered Nahor. And Sherag lived after he fathered Nahor 200 years and had other sons and daughters. When Nahor had lived 29 years, he fathered Terah. And Nahor lived after he fathered Terah 119 years and had other sons and daughters. When Terah had lived 70 years, he fathered Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Terah's descendants. Now these are the generations of Terah. Terah fathered Abram, Nahor, and Haran fathered Lot. Haran died in the presence of his father Terah in the land of his kindred in Ur of the Chaldeans. And Abram and Nahor took wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah and Ishkah. Now Sarai was barren, she had no child. Terah took Abram, his son, and Lot, the son of Haran, his grandson, and Sarai, his daughter-in-law, his son, Abram's wife, and they went forth together from Ur of the Chaldeans to go to the land of Canaan. But when they came to Haran, they settled there. The days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. So for chapter 11, I really want to stick with verse 1 through verse 9. I think that for me is the most interesting piece of this chapter. So starting with verse 4, then they said, Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with a top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the whole earth. You can see here, and again, it's probably just the way my mind works. I can see the facial expressions of the people that's having this conversation. Like I can see them just coming together like, yeah, guys, let's build us this big old tower so that way people will know us and we can make a name for ourselves. I think that is incredible. And it's not incredible because it's good. It's incredible because it speaks to the fact that as humans, we were willing to come together for one specific cause, only to show other people what we can do. And I know that that may not resonate with you, but let me give you some examples to hopefully make that statement resonate with you. How many times in your heart have you said to yourself, you know what? I'm going to go work out because this person broke up with me or this person did this, and I'm going to show them. I'm going to make a name for myself. They're not going to ever forgive me. You're coming at the situation, right, with the energy that speaks to, I only want to do this because I want a specific result. Right? And this specific result that I want is extrinsic to me. It's not an internal motivation. So let's go back. Let's run back through that again, right? They're saying, let us build for ourselves a city and a tower with its tops in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the whole earth. Their motivation for trying to build this tower had nothing to do with unity, had nothing to do with anything positive. It's because we don't want to be dispersed throughout the earth. And so because of this external factor, let me do something that is technically okay, right? To want to build a building is okay by itself, but it is the motivation behind that leads us into God's response. And so before moving forward to God's response, I want you to think about how you move throughout the world, right? What motivates you to do certain things? Is it something positive? Is it something good? Or are you motivated by something that is external to you and something that is either fear-based, something that is envious, something that is jealous based? Like, what is motivating you is the first question. And the second question is, let's dissect that motivation. Not only where is it coming from, but what is that motivation based out of? And that will hopefully start you on this path of making sure that, again, as we talk about decisions, that we're making the appropriate decisions necessary to ensure that we're doing things that don't speak to the evil that's in our heart, as been what's been pointed out in previous chapters in Genesis. And if you haven't been listening up until this point, I would encourage you to go back and listen to all of the podcast episodes that will help you get up to where we are in Genesis 11. But going into now God's response, God, it said in verse 5, and the Lord came down to the city and the tower which the children of man had built. And the Lord said, behold, they are one people, and they have all one language. And this is only the beginning of what they will do. And nothing that they propose to do will now be impossible for them. Let's pause there. They are one people and they have one language, right? If you've been exposed to the Bible in any capacity, you know the word one is synonymous with the word holy, right? It is, you are all one. God is holy. He's set apart. He is one, right? He's Father, He's Son, He's Holy Spirit, but yet He's one, right? And so essentially, God is saying here that these people are one. They are one people. They all have one language. They are in harmony. They are harmonious. They are working together to achieve an objective, and nothing that they set to do will be impossible for them. And I love that because God acknowledges, I made them. They come from me. And if nothing is impossible for me because I am one and I'm always in harmony and I can do what I like, whatever, right? Now we have these humans who are made in my image. They are one language. They are one people. They are the word one. What I'm really trying to drive home is it speaks to a harmonious path. It speaks to a straight path forward. And because of that, God is acknowledging there is nothing that is going to be impossible for them. And so as we see here in verse 7, where God says, come, let us go down there and confuse their language so that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord dispersed them from there over the face of the earth, and they left off building the city. It again, we are made in the image of a creator who knows. He knows what we have the ability to do. Honestly, taking this and looking at this through the lens of today's world, it speaks to the fact that, man, as humans, if we were just able to get on one accord, right? And we were really able to decide we're going to make a set of decisions. Again, we're on that word decisions again. And we're going to come together as one people under the God of the universe, the God that made everything. And we're going to set forth a path that ensures that we are making decisions that are in alignment with His will and in alignment with His way. We would be unstoppable as people. I love that. And that's really why I wanted to focus on this piece of chapter 11, because it speaks to the fact that the creator of the universe knows what He put in us. And oftentimes as humans, we are so focused on us as individuals that we don't look and zoom out and look at the macro level of things and say, wow, what would happen if my neighborhood, if my community, if my city, if we all got on the same page about something and we decided that we're going to move forward as one, we're going to be harmonious. It's so powerful. It is so powerful. So moving forward to chapter 12, the call of Abram. Now, the Lord said to Abram, go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you, and I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and him who dishonors you I will curse, and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. So Abram went as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. And Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their possessions that had been gathered, and the people that they had acquired in Haran, and they set out to go to the land of Canaan. When they came to the land of Canaan, Abram passed through the land to the place of Shechem, to the oak of Moreh. At the time the Canaanites were in the land, and the Lord appeared to Abraham and said, to your offspring I will give this land. So he built there an altar to the Lord who had appeared to him. From there he moved to the hill country of the east of Bethel and pitched his tent with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. And there he built an altar to the Lord and called upon the name of the Lord. And Abram journeyed on, still going toward the Negeb. Abram and Sarai in Egypt. Now there was a famine in the land. So Abram went down to Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was severe in the land. When he was about to enter Egypt, he said to Sarai his wife, I know that you are a woman beautiful in appearance, and when the Egyptians see you, they will say, this is his wife. Then they will kill me, but they will let you live. Say you are my sister, and it may go well with me because of you, that my life may be spared for your sake. When Abram entered Egypt, the Egyptians saw that the woman was very beautiful. And when the princes of Pharaoh saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh. And the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. And for her sake, he dealt well with Abram and had sheep, oxen, male donkeys, male servants, female donkeys, and camels. But the Lord afflicted Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. So Pharaoh called Abram and said, what is this you have done to me? Why did you not tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister, so that I took her for my wife? Now then, here is your wife, take her and go. And Pharaoh gave men orders concerning him, and they sent him away with his wife and all he had. So for the commentary for chapter 12, I first wanted to just start with the very beginning of the chapter, really verse 1 all the way through verse 3. I love the fact that God is basically laying out the plan like, Abram, leave your country, leave your people, leave your father's house, and go into the land that I'm going to show you where to go. Right? And then after I show you where to go, I'm going to make you a great nation. I'm going to make your name great so that you will be a blessing. That is the piece that I think stuck out to me. It's the fact that I'm not setting you up for this just so that way you can be set up for this, right? Like I'm actually doing this and setting you up in this manner because I want you to actually be a blessing to other people. And that's the piece that I don't want us as humans to forget. Like, we're not just being blessed just to be blessed. We're actually being blessed for a purpose, because God has a purpose for our lives. And it is important that we make sure that we understand that we're not being blessed just for our own sake and just to be blessed, but we're actually being blessed because of the impact that it's going to have on others. When we think about the original plan that God set up way back in Genesis 1, it wasn't just like God made Adam and then he presented Eve to Adam, and their purpose was to multiply and to subdue. So essentially, God wanted a race of humans, of man, people who had his own spirit, who were in his image, and he wanted them to dominate the earth. And so anytime that we are being blessed, or we have more, or we're living in abundance, keep that in the back of your minds, that God is not blessing us just for the sake of making our name great and blessing us. He wants us to take those blessings and push them out into the world, so that way others will be blessed by the fact that God has made us a blessing. And on that same vein, I want to go down a few verses to verse 10 through 13. Specifically starting at verse 10, this is where Abram and Sarai are going into Egypt. And it says, "Now there was a famine in the land, so Abram went down to Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was severe in the land." Verse 11, "When he was about to enter Egypt, he said to Sarai, his wife, 'I know that you are a beautiful woman in appearance.'" Verse 12, "And when the Egyptians see you, they will say, 'This is his wife.' Then they will kill me, but they will let you live." Before we continue on to verse 13, I want to, just from a psychology perspective, let's look at the spiral of events that happened in Abram's mind. Because at this point, no Egyptian has said anything to him at all. He says, first, "I know you are a beautiful woman in appearance." He's stating what he believes to be a fact. That is a fact, that his wife is a beautiful woman. And he knows that because of her beauty, that's going to get him in trouble. And so he says, now this is where the assumption comes in. He says, "When the Egyptians see you, they will say, 'This is his wife.' Then they will kill me, but they will let you live." That is Abram trying to, based off of what he believes is going to happen. He believes that they're going to see Sarai and they're going to just kill him, even though God just told him, as we just talked about in verses 1 through 3, that he extracted Abram from his country, from his kindred, in order to make him a blessing for others. But yet Abram's fear in this moment allows him to think that because of the beauty of his wife, the Egyptians are going to kill him if they know that they are married. And that leads Abram to tell a lie. And why I wanted to double click on that is because I wanted to just pause and encourage you to think about your own thought process. Like, what are you thinking about that is based on what is true? It's based on truth. Like Sarai, from what we've been reading and the way that as we continue to read, we'll see that the Egyptian Pharaoh, he does take her as his wife because she is beautiful, right? But my point is, Abram made off of that fact, he made a decision. He made a decision to say, we're going to not tell the truth because I don't want to die. But yet he didn't trust in the God that even extracted him from his country, from his kindred, and had him on this journey to begin with. So as we continue reading 13 all the way through the end, verse 20, we know, and while it's not explicitly stated, Pharaoh had to find out in some way that Abram's wife was really Sarai. We don't know if God spoke to Pharaoh and said it, if it was a rumor, if it was whatever, but we do know for a fact that it was in God's plan, because it happened that Pharaoh was going to be made aware that Sarai was Abram's wife. And I appreciate that. And the reason why I can say I appreciate that is because the Egyptians were not God's chosen people. They were not God's chosen people at all. However, we see that God in his mercy and in his love for all people at this point is even saying to Pharaoh, by afflicting Pharaoh's house with great plagues, ever since Sarai was there, something's not right here. Because it could have just easily happened that Pharaoh slept with Sarai. But again, it shows the grace and the love and the mercy that God had on Pharaoh to say, I'm going to do something out of the ordinary for it to raise your eyebrows to see that something here is not right. It doesn't give us, line by line how Pharaoh figured it out. If the plagues were enough, we don't know. But what we do know is that ultimately, Abram got back Sarai and got back other gifts and things that were with him. Hopefully, so far, you have learned a lot by being on this journey and really reading the Bible for yourself. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I hope that you found some value out of this content. If you did, please leave me a rating or review wherever you are listening. This would mean the world to me. I'd also love to hear from you on social media. Please feel free to reach out on Twitter at His Eternal Word, 1. And also please feel free to reach out to me on Instagram as well at His Eternal Word. Visit our website at www.hiseternalword.com. And I hope you stay tuned for the next episode.